My name is Duron Chavis, urban farmer, community activist, and food justice advocate. Join me and my comrades as we talk resiliency, community, social justice, and why Black space matters. Welcome to Black Space Matters. I'm your host, Duron Chavis. For those that know about the work that we do in urban agriculture, we know that it's important to highlight community. Today, I'm going to be introducing you to somebody that I've known for a long time, who's been putting in work around food justice, around food access, around taking ownership, community ownership, I should say, of land. Without further ado, I want you to meet my good friend, Art Burton. Let's go see if we can find him on the farm. All right, what's going on?
Hey, bro, how you doing?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man.
All
Good to
right.
see you, man.
So, Art Burton.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about, what it is you do.
I'm a political activist, community organizer based in Richmond. Executive director, Kinfolk community, and we use urban agriculture as a community engagement tool to address health and economic inequalities that result from systemic racism, and operational director for a social justice coalition called Community Unity in Action. We have two projects, the Richmond Food Justice Corridor, which is based in the east end of Richmond in the largest food desert. We are operating 4 farm sites in there, 3 in Richmond, and then we support the smaller farm sites with this site right here in Chesterfield. And right now we're engaged with about 75 families that we consistently provide fresh produce and programmatic efforts in 2 public housing communities in Richmond.
That's fire.
And this project, which is called the Emancipation Project, preserving our homestead, which was purchased by my great-great-great-grandfather in 1896. And so this is like the family legacy, and this is where my background in farming and urban agriculture comes from. This is the family graveyard as well. 400 members of the community, along with both sides of my family, are buried back on the grave site. So in addition to a historical cultural space, it is also a sacred space. I'm in the process of preserving this so that it will perpetually be conserved.
Well, let's walk and take a look.
All right. This is the original shed, was here when my father grew up. We were part of the Curls Neck plantations, which is right on the other side of the James River. We came here as enslaved Africans in the early 1600s. So when people wonder where my work ethic comes from, I have to remind people, we were literally bred for this. This is what I call the first field, where right now we're doing all of our farming and we're expanding back.
How many acres is
this? This is 2.5 acres. It goes all the way down to a creek. One of my friends who's a botanist said this is like one of the finest examples of a native Virginia habitat that they've seen in a while. This fall, I'm gonna put the goats in here so we can clean all this up. And then this is the graveyard, and this is where the matriarch and the patriarchs of my family on both sides, my grandmother and grandfather's family, are all buried here. So like this is my dude here. This is the guy I talk to all the time. This is Uncle Willie. Where's Uncle Willie at? I gotta find him. Boy, he gonna be mad, because he has been waiting for you to get here, bro. Here we go. There's Uncle Willie. He died in 1949, and that was one of my grandfather's father's brother, okay? And so, he's the guy that I talk to all the time. And then my maternal grandmother is buried further, and my grandmother's family, who were Jeffersons. Thomas Jefferson's uncle, Thomas Osborne, had a plantation up the street. Right. And so back in those days, people had 4 and 5 plantations, and slaves moved
from one to the other.
Right. And so I imagine that the Jefferson slave came, saw my great-great-grandmother, said, wow, and married her, and then she took on the Jefferson name, and so it's Burton Jefferson. Sure. Right. VCU School of Sociology is going to come in this fall and start documenting and recreating the lives of the people that are buried here, similar to what they did at Evergreen Cemetery. So I'm excited about that.
This is magnificent, man, in terms of like connecting the conversation about community organizing to legacy.
We're slowly incorporating fruit trees back in. That's peach, plum, cherry. This particular tree here is a walnut tree that is probably, I would imagine, almost 100 years old. Yeah, it's been here my entire life.
Wow, but look at y'all, man. This is amazing. Y'all are killing it with the rows, though. How many rows y'all got, like 15?
15 rows, and I'm gonna put 3 more rows in this weekend, which is gonna be okra and string beans. This year, like, the goal was plant enough food to feed 200 people. It's broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, collards. This is arugula, Swiss chard. This was spinach. And then we got 6 kinds of peppers. Habanero, jalapeno, chili, banana, red, all kinds of peppers. 4 kinds of squash, white squash, zucchini squash, straight neck, yellow squash.
I see you got the patties.
Yes, that's V's favorite. You know, my concept is community ownership, so it's like, you're here, you own it now. You know, that goes for you too. Like, you know, you don't have no excuse now to say, I don't know where no squash is at. Okay? 5 kinds of tomatoes, okay? Yellow, Roma, Celebrity, Heirlooms, Cherry, Yellow, Sunflowers, Watermelon, Sugar Babies, Jubilee in the back, corn. This is our first beehive. When I went to South America, Colombia, and looked at their gardens, they had flower gardens incorporated into there. Now, this was nothing my grandfather would have done, okay? Because if you couldn't eat it, he wasn't gonna plant it. We've got all kinds of variety of herbs. And then along the fence, I'm working grapes.
I see I put this fence in yourselves, so this is really smart.
Yes.
The bamboo stakes with the chicken wire.
Yeah, another thing I learned in South America, everything was built with bamboo, you know, so I just incorporated that.
But I hear we got some friends in here, though.
Oh, yeah.
The chickens and the roosters is on deck.
Oh, yeah.
Can we go check them out?
Yeah, we can, yeah.
How many chickens you got now?
I have 10, and tomorrow I'm going to pick up 10 more. So I'll have 20 chickens overall and a rooster. Come on, everybody. We even send the eggs out into the community.
All right, well, this is amazing, man. Anything else you want to show us?
This used to be a Civil War battlefield. This was a part of the Drury's Bluff battlefield. And so that's part of the legacy that I'm trying to preserve. I wanted to feel timeless. I wanted them to feel like they literally have stepped back in 1865 so that they can get that feeling of like what it would have been like. The farming that I do, I pretty much farm it the same way that my grandfather farmed it. Because I used to think all black people knew where vegetables come from. And then I found out that that is not true. There are a lot of people who go in the grocery store and buy vegetables with no idea of how they're grown, where they come from, let alone the historical legacy around those foods that came from Africa that we grow here now, that are part of the cultural history of this country, that we assume somebody else brought as a contribution, but is really our contribution to the culture of America. Yeah.
Let's go sit down. So, Art, man, what's like your origin story? Like, how did you get involved in activism merged with urban farming?
My father was a community organizer in Youngstown, Ohio, and after the '69 riots, he decided to bring us back here. Him and my mom were divorced, and he was raising us on his own, and he needed some support. And he also had gotten a job as associate director of the Urban League here in Richmond. He's a graduate of Virginia State University. This is where he went to college. And so he brought us back here, and the second day here, my grandfather said we were going to get some potatoes, and I ended up with a hoe fork in my hand, approximately right over there, digging potatoes, and that was where it literally started. He knew everything about farming. That was his thing, you know, and he trained me. I went into the service in '79 as a civil engineer, and my grandfather died in the late '70s. My grandmother loved growing vegetables, and so our connection was me coming back here, planting her garden. Most people don't know I have a background in landscape maintenance with the city of Richmond. I managed 147 park acres. And then I started my nonprofit career at Highland Park Restoration. Ellen Robinson called me and asked me would I create a nonprofit landscape maintenance corporation where people in the community could create green spaces. And so naturally, I started incorporating urban agriculture into that work. And so after about 2009, I got kind of fed up, disgruntled. I think we all were fed up and disgruntled by 2009 and needed to recreate a life for myself. Wanted to work in the community, and one of my gifts that I could give to the community was to show them how to plant and grow vegetables.
Talk to me about how important it is for us to have a different definition of what community is. Like, what lessons have you learned from your family in terms of how we define community?
Part of my work here is preserving that cultural, social history of Black people and that journey from, I call the first day of freedom, when the 24th Colored Infantry marched down Jeff Davis Highway on his way to Richmond to say, and stopped here and literally said, y'all are free. And what does that conversation look like? And having a space where us as the descendants of slave Africans can really think about what that conversation around what is freedom. I don't think we really kind of understand the complexities that Black folks in Black families in 1865 who lived here on this land, which my family did, would have had to grapple with. This was a self-sufficient community of Black people. We were insulated, even though we were here in 1970. I see more racism on Jeff Davis Highway now than I ever saw as a child because we didn't even look that way.
Wow.
We looked this way. You can look this way at the trees, at the moon, at the stars, at your ancestors buried there. You know, what does that mean in the long legacy of who you are as a person? My social justice work now is moving me towards away from the concept of race. You know, the systemic racism is enforced by racial construct.
Certainly.
So as long as we stay inside the construct, we can never end systemic racism. So what does the human family look like? And once again, drawing on our earlier work of moving away from the charity model of nonprofit to the self-sustaining empowerment model. I don't want you to come here to grow food for other people. The community that we are feeding starts with you. It starts with us. You can't feed somebody else if you're not eating the food yourself, okay? Right.
A great point in terms of us breaking free these social constructs around this idea of, race, right? Because it is all make-believe.
Right.
But at the same time, we recognize that there's been like millions of acres of land lost from Black people, right? Since the 1920s to today, there's like a 90% loss of Black farmers, Black farmland, right? What makes this work a priority for our community?
My family at one point, between my grandmother and grandfather's family, had over 200 acres of land. This is the last 2.5 acres. All of the things that make me successful, I learned here. We started this work because there was no African-American presence in the conversation of food, justice, urban agriculture, food policy, health policy, and now when you look around, there are just dozens of small urban farm sites being run by African-American people that are contributing to this, and it's across the city. When we talk about our historical cultural legacy as enslaved Africans, the tendency is to separate our contribution from the larger story of America. Dr. Norris Jones used to say, all things American are African because it were the foods, the animals, the things, the skills we brought here that built the country. When I cut on the Sunday news and they tell me Bill Gates has acquired 250,000 acres of farmland as part of his investment strategy, then everybody ought to be able to kind of see that as we move into the future, food is going to be a big thing. Okay, it's a bigger thing this year than it was last year as a result of COVID. The defining difference between urban agriculture and food justice is that in food justice, we are reclaiming the land.
So tell us a little bit about some of the macro, like the system that you all are developing as far as community unity action, Kinfolks, and how can people get connected to that?
Yeah, so we're trying to be very intentional about impact, being targeted and having impact and solving a problem. Food justice gives us a wonderful platform to discuss all of the issues that affect poor Black people in terms of health and economic inequality. Plus, it gives us the tools to show them how to address those issues.
Right.
We talk a lot about social economic diversity. And as a city, we have become so intentional about trying to mandate and force social economic diversity. And I found it on these farm sites. The idea of people coming together to build something, create something, design something, grow something, take care of each other, it just happens organically.
Yeah, it's like radical imagining, like, what does our future look like? What's the next thing? Like, what brings us all together? What new reality can we co-create? I'm thankful for the time we had to share. How can people get in contact?
We're out there. Richmond Food Justice Alliance does a lot of our community engagement work.
We're all in this together. I want to thank you for sharing some time with us,
man.
This has been amazing. Thank you for tuning in to Black Space Matters. We've been chopping it up with Art Burton. I appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you share to all the people in your networks.